Welcome back. I'm excited you're here. My name is Dede, the Invincible CEO, and this is the Invincible CEO Wish Fulfilled Playground. And this is part two in our water fasting series about my experience of water fasting and how it taught me so much about manifestation, and it taught me so much about consciousness and awareness and how you can use it as a tool to move from one character, one identity, and through the unfolding of the water fasting, that when it's done, you know that you are in the embodied state of the new character, of the new identity, and how easily you shut your mind down should the old character and its themes and its storylines decide to try to make an entrance back into your consciousness, because you really do have this defined point now that I'm not her, I'm not in. If you might be saying I'm not him or I'm not them. So this is really powerful. In our part one, I just kind of laid down what water fasting is. It's really simple. You don't eat, you're drinking water and you're breathing, and then you're doing whatever you normally do the rest of your days. So part one was explaining water fasting, establishing the foundation of setting myself up to win, because I want to see you win big, win all the time. So there are times where I will spontaneously jump into, and then there's other times where I know that once I decide, I want to set up the foundation, the framework of what I'm stepping into, assumption wise, belief wise. I don't do a whole lot of work. It's more of, this is what I expect. I don't care what anybody else will say. If they say it's hard, if they say you're going to hurt your body, blah, 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 blah. I'm setting up my assumptions. It's going to be easy. It's going to be fun. There's going to be so much revelation happening. I'm going to go deeper. Like, I really wanted to go deeper into the now. So I knew that I wanted to do something that was less effort, right? The whole idea of be still and know, and also that you don't have to do anything for manifest. You're always manifesting. You're always manifesting who you are. So once I decided I'm going to be a water fasting, manifesting goddess, right? That I want. So I was just in this wonderful deep awareness the whole time. And this video, this part two, is about the actual journey. What happened on day one? What happened on day two? What were some of the things that were thrown at me? What were some of the awarenesses that happened? And then I will be doing a part three of now how, through this experience, how this has helped me on my manifestation journey, what it can do for you. If you wanted to do something like this, you don't have to. I want to get that before everybody gets on my case. You don't have to do anything other than choose. But when you start to create a little ceremony for yourself between the old you and the new you, and when people ask me as a coach all the time, Dede, how do I know I'm in my wish fulfilled? How do I know I'm embodying my character? That's what part three will be about, and mind-blowing for you. So here we are now in part two. If you would like to work with me in any capacity, check out the description box below. It has all my options available right now. And I am considering starting a group for water fasting with manifestation. So a mini group program where we are doing water fasting together as a group. And we can do this also one-on-one individually. But the one thing I will say is that I'm not a doctor, and I'm only going to be sharing with you my personal experiences on all three planes of existence: the physical, what it did for my body, what it did for my mind, what it did for my energy or my consciousness. And it was absolutely mind-blowing. Now, as I said, I stated my intention in part one was not to get manifestations. I wasn't doing this to get more money. I wasn't doing this to get a partner. I already had a partner. I wasn't doing this to get anything other than the experience as it's happening. I wanted to experience the unfolding. I wanted to experience the unfolding because I've done this before in the past with, getting married, going from single, embodying a single person and a single mindset consciousness, to going through the ceremony of marriage, a marriage ceremony, and now I'm married. And now that's a whole different rules of engagement and embodiment for me. But this is really powerful because not only am I going to teach you how to decide to do this, because what my job is to help you make clear, concise, certain choices in the now moment. because my original career as a trained interrogator, when I would interrogate people, even when I would interview them, I realized that there was kind of three causes as to why people were in the situations that they were in. It was either necessity, opportunity, or a hybrid of both. But what that version sitting in that chair would say to me a lot of the times is, I don't know why I made that decision. I don't know what possessed me to decide that. So it's more of a, whether it was instinctual or spontaneous, um, the person sitting in front of me felt like there was no control. They had no choice. So we stop reality and we make a clear, concise choice to do something. And then we set up in our consciousness the foundations, our assumptions, what we expect to experience, no matter, even if the world out there said, nope, that's not going to happen that way, we're literally setting the framework up for ourselves as it unfolds to step in and have like a little checklist to experience. And that's exactly what I did. So you can go back to part one. If you haven't seen part one, you don't, I mean, it helps with the foundation, because this one is really now going to be all about the experience. As I mentioned at the end of part one, that I had set up all this foundation. I had decided to do this. I always have tons of water because of being a personal trainer and nutritionist, and I'm drinking a gallon a day easily. So that wasn't going to be a hard part. So if you're someone that doesn't drink a whole lot of water, and I will say the minimum should be at least 80 ounces a day to help clean out your organs, help the body function properly and to its highest capacity. But I would take you to almost to a gallon a day, depending on what type of temperatures you have going on, how active you are. And when I do personalized nutrition programs, I get a lot of that information out from you. So I was really excited because I figured I was going to be drinking a little bit more water than normal. So I wanted to see how was that going to affect my body. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention in part one, I put in as my assumption that I would not go to the bathroom any more frequently than's normal. So it's going to be normal going to the bathroom. So it's not like I have to, stop what I'm doing every 15 minutes to run to the bathroom. And I also was going to pay attention to how would it affect me during the day. Did I feel more calm? What did I, emotion wise? So I had all these ideas of what I wanted to experience. So about 10 of 12 around noontime on a Monday, after I had decided to do it and set up got all my stats of my jump off, I got the message in, said within my consciousness, it's time, today's the day. And I knew exactly what it was. And I could feel that energy, that excitement. And it was like, all right. And at that point, I had not eaten anything that day. I just went straight into my day. So I was planning to go get something to eat around 12:30 that day, but now not a problem. My day just got easier. I don't have to eat anything. I'm excited. All I got to do is drink water. And I always have my bottles set out. It's at least 6 of these a day. So, and as I go through my day, I, put the empty bottle to the side. So that's my way of knowing and counting without having to add up ounces and all that stuff. That's, and if there's a day where I need more, then I'll have more. But it's very rare that I don't get my 6 bottles in. But I had a whole bunch ready to go. And I'd like to say that it was like, the crowds were cheering and everybody's watching. And it was just like, after the decision was made, it was like, all right, I got some videos to record. And it was like, boom, back to work. So what's really interesting was I spent the time in my office doing all the things that I normally do. And I didn't agree once, right? I'm drinking my water because I said, I'm not going to feel hungry. This is going to be easy. And so this was upstairs. And after my workday was done, because I had done my workout earlier in the morning, I was heading downstairs and no signs of hunger whatsoever, flowing through this. Like, this is so easy. And then I go and I sit on the couch. Now, the couch isn't that far from the kitchen, but it's not facing the kitchen. And I sit in my spot. You might have your spot that you normally go to on the couch. I came downstairs, sat down, picked up the remote. I was going to see if I wanted to catch up on an episode of something, whatever I wanted to. And before I could even turn the TV on, all of a sudden, a whoosh of hunger came in, like I hadn't eaten in 3 years type of hunger feel. And I thought, wow, that's really strange. Like, how do I go from nothing to that? I feel like I was like a rocket that just took off. And I had already said that I was going to slow things down. And I thought that's kind of drastic. Like, because what was happening in the now moment is something stopped me in my tracks, and I was feeling a sensation in my body, a sensation that I normally would identify as hunger, right? That would say, go make some food. But it was so extreme. It was like, okay, there's something else going on here. So I just sat with it and I drank some water, sitting there on the couch, and it's not going away. And I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, I was upstairs and I came down, and then it hit me. This is the first level of awareness. When I sit in that spot, I don't automatically go get food and bring it there, but I do eat when I'm sitting in that spot. And I'm thinking to myself, no, like the spot is known in my consciousness that when I sit there, I eat. And then I thought about where I was upstairs, and I don't bring food upstairs. I don't eat in my office. And I'm like, wow. So what I did real quick is I went upstairs and I went back in my office and I sat down. And at first it didn't stop. And I'm like, okay, I'm trying to see okay, so I went back out of the room and I went back in, and I'm like, as if I was going in to deliberately do something. So I went in with the consciousness of, I'm going to check something on the computer because I have the big computer in the office. And right away, the hunger went away. And I'm like, wow. So I finished that up because I wanted to close out that loop of that task. And I went back down, and I'm going to go right back to where I was on the couch. Sat back down, pick up the remote, turned on the TV. Within a minute, that hunger was back. And it really kind of made me realize now what feng shui is, that why you rearrange things in your room, because your mind gets used to the meaning that you assign to things based on either what you call them, how you talk about, what you do when you're interacting with them. So my mind was saying to me at that moment that when I sit here, eating is part of the plan. And because I'm in a reality where I eat there, the hunger that I was not feeling in other parts of the house where there's no eating in those realities, the hunger didn't exist. So it was showing me in real time that what I'm experiencing isn't necessarily real, but it is true for what I normally do there. Mind blowing. So I thought, okay, I'm looking at the couch. Is there a place on the couch that I haven't sat? Yeah, there is. So I thought, well, let me get up and go sit in a different spot on the couch. Got up, walked a few feet, sat down. My mind has no memory associated with me sitting there. Nothing. So we go back to the regular scheduled program of what I declared. I'm water fasting. Mine was blown. So it really wasn't that I'm hungry. It's just the mind, the consciousness makes a connection to where I sit in the room. Wow. That was just like, wow. So I'm like, okay, I see this. And as I'm going on the rest of my day, I didn't sit back there. I also tried different spots in the room where I know myself to eat, like in the kitchen. I sat where if I'm sitting at the table in the kitchen, boom, hunger right away. I'm like, wow, this is mind blowing, mind blowing. So I thought to myself, okay, well, the next day we're going to move the couch. It's been a while since we had moved the room around, and we're going to move the couch in a position that it's never been in, but I'm going to still pick that same spot that when in the position that it was, invoke the hunger, to see if it was really the position of the couch, like where I sat on the couch, or is it more of the story that is assumed because I normally do things in a routine, on a loop, in a pattern, and that's what my mind offers me as options. Like, this is where, like, this is day one. Day one, this is showing up. So by the time we get further along in this, it was mind blowing. My energy was good. And of course, now this made me a little bit more excited, which I calm myself down right away because I don't want those equalizers coming in. And I'm becoming more and more aware because now once you have this awareness, it's takes a lot to not have it. And now I can use that in my nutrition with my clients because I don't just get normal uh, people who just want to lose weight. They want to do it consciously. They want to do it manifesting wise. So I take them through a process. And now this is something in all my years of bulking and shredding, I never noticed. So then it got me thinking that I need to pay attention to when something's offered to me. If I'm in a certain spot and I'm more likely to say no if I'm in this spot and you offer me something and I really want to say yes, will that cause me to pause and not give a yes? I might not necessarily give a no. Would I give a maybe? And that was a whole other experiment that I did. So if you want to see a video on that, comment in the comment section below. So now, day one, went to sleep normal, had no issues whatsoever, was very, very excited. That was the big aha of day one. And I was excited because as I was going to sleep and I was going over my day, I was already reaffirming I'm going to wake up. Day two is going to be so easy. Like, even if all I wanted to do was one day, that got me. That whole couch hunger thing. I'm like, oh, I felt like this explorer. That it was so exciting. And on to day two. But technically, my day one wasn't really over until 12 noon ish. So I was still in my day one when I woke up the next day. I woke up the next day. I was not hungry. I did my normal things that I'm doing, and I paid very close attention before I sat down somewhere. Was I known to eat there? Was it those places that I eat all the time? What if I eat there once in a while? And it didn't matter. If I ate there and I sat there, that hunger sensation, what you call hunger, but it's really just a sensation. So what I decided for day two is any sensation that came up on day one, that I was now going to start to redefine it. That sensation that you would call hunger, by the end of day two would no longer be hunger. It would be given a new purpose. It would be given a new story. So I went about my day and I started to feel different in my body. I could start to feel my body slowing down, I guess you could say. So it's not that I was slowing down because I would put the idea of tired over top of it. My body was slowing down because it didn't have to be in constant digestion mode. Because when you have a metabolic metabolism, you're always eating every 2 to 3 hours. And it's like throwing another log on the fire. It just keeps that fire going and it helps burn off the fat. So now I'm not going to the bathroom any more than normal. I did drink a little bit more than a gallon. It was probably 7 bottles instead of 6. But because I wasn't feeling overly hungry, but my body was used to drinking this water. Okay. So day two, I could feel, I felt different in the body. I could feel that something was going on in the consciousness in the body, whichever level you want to identify with, that I was slowing down, like almost like slow motion, but not because I was tired, but because I was realizing I was going deeper in the now moment and I was slowing down. And I could feel myself starting to neutralize. Like, I didn't want to get excited about things. I wanted to feel the version of me that this was natural and normal because I didn't want it so that I had to overcome something to become something. I wanted to have this journey like this is how I normally am because it'll anchor it in faster because we activate, we align, and we anchor. So I was in this aligning process of, oh, this is just usual. This is who I am. And it kind of went hand in hand of this is easy, this is simple, this is fun. And I remember on day two, we decided to go test drive because we were looking for a new car. So I'm like, okay, cool. I felt like I had full mental capacity, full facility, full control of my body. I said to him at any time, if that feels a little compromised, I will just turn it over to you, but I'm not going to put myself in danger or anyone else. And so I'm fully aware. And it was amazing because I could feel myself lifting out of my old character, but yet I still could identify with all that was going on. And when we went to the car dealership, my partner used to work there, so we know the people. And they've always been friendly to us, but it was just like felt like I was in a whole different world because it felt like people were automatically already going out of their way. And I had two people there who know me said, something's different. What's going on? And I really didn't want to share yet what I was doing. I didn't want to broadcast it. Like my partner knew, and I had said to him, I'm not going to say anything. And I'm like, up, you're just picking up on it. Like I could see how the character's consciousness was starting to sense a change in me because I was sensing the change in me. And it was a wonderful thing. So of course they were reflecting back. And that was the other thing that I started to notice, that the mirrored reflection, its interaction with you is a lot quicker because at least for me, what I've come to realize is that as we eat, we're grounding into the character. We're doing things in the 3D world that solidifies the character. And now that I'm just doing the breathing and the water, it's not so solid. So my body was flushing out, my body was cleaning out. So without getting too graphic, I think you know what I mean by cleaning out. And it was just that kind of day. And it was like, okay, this is wonderful because if this is what's needed, if this is part of the process, let's go through all of that. So we had a fun time driving the cars. I think we test drove about 4 or 5 different ones. And it was only because we would drive up and then we would kind of park and check out the car. And it was only at that point I'm like, you know what? I think I'm done driving for the day because I did start to feel a little bit of lightheadedness, what you would call lightheadedness. But what I did was I stayed with the sensation. I didn't give it any story. In this moment, I'm feeling that sensation. So everything then, the story was, this is how I'm feeling the embodiment of the new character. I could feel like her being rewritten over the physical body. And I'm sure that this is always happening. It's just because I've taken away the food and the awareness of eating, and my body is slowing down because it's not in digestion mode. So energy that was used for digestion, at least in my mind, was now open and free to be used for other things. And it was mind blowing. So after we were done, we went back home, and it was really my first opportunity to sit on the couch in the new position that it was. So I didn't want it to like within my consciousness that I was going over there to prove a point or to learn something new. I just wanted that when I did sit on the couch, it would be part of a normal routine. Like I tried to be aware without being hyper super aware of keeping things normal, acting the way that I normally would in those kind of situations. So it's not like I got home and went right over to the couch. I kind of followed my normal routine. I take things up to the room. I take my shoes off. I leave my purse, all that kind of stuff. Came back down. Um, Partner was in the kitchen, went in there for a few minutes, and then just natural progression went over, and I sat in the spot where I normally eat. But now the couch is turned in a different direction. Still in the same room, different direction. Nothing. Nothing, because that couch was never in that position. It was like brand new, brand new, because my mind had no point of reference to be relative to it to say, oh, here's the probabilities of all things. These things are more probable when she sits there and the couch is facing this way. So it wasn't just necessarily the couch, it was more the totality story of the couch in that position and me normally eating when I sat in it. Mind blowing. Absolutely mind blowing. So it was like I felt alive. I felt more alive. I felt more present. Um, there was some physical things going on in the body, which I figured by the time I wake up on day 3, it would be gone, done. That was kind of that physical day that was happening. And I was really excited. So when I went to bed that night, I did my normal going over my day, revising, high-fiving, wanting more without getting too excited, keeping it like the norm. But what was really interesting is that I had a hard time falling asleep that night, right? If we're talking about like what's normal, and at first it didn't hit me why, because I had all this energy and I was being more aware and more awake and more conscious. And I realized it took about like I did get a little frustrated. Like I'm like I got to sleep. I got to wake up because there's the old character coming in. Here's all the shoulda, woulda, coulda, like the shouldas. Like I got to do this. How am I going to do that? And I don't want to be tired. And I could feel the spiral come in, and I'm like, oh, oh, nope, 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 nope. I'm a spiral when I'm laying down in bed sometimes because where is this coming from? So I decided to go into the other room and neutralize myself out. And then, whether this is true or not, this is what came through for me because the body is in a more relaxed state because it's not busy digesting my last meal and it wasn't busy digesting all day long. I have a lot more energy. So now I'm like, ooh, do I need less sleep? Because I always had this feeling like if I'm the god of my reality, and I normally function really, really well on about 5 hours of sleep. Very, very rare am I going for 8 hours or anything over six. Six would even be rare. Usually it's 4 to 5. But now it's like I always thought like as a god of my reality, why do I have to sleep? Why? And I understand it's to come out of one reality and start fresh in the new. I get that. But am I really sleeping anyway? Or am I closing my eyes in one reality and opening in the other? But it appears like I slept for so long. And my body now, like I'm thinking everything like, oh, here's the story. I lay down on the bed, and if I wake up groggy, the story is I didn't get a good night's sleep. But is that even a story? Like now questioning everything because mine has already showed me it's based on how I normally interact with not only people, but physical, like it's all alive and it all helps. Like in a video game, when you go here, you have access to this kind of thing. So I just decided that I will go and do whatever I want to go and do. I feel tired because I would assume that I'm not going to stay up for 24 hours. But maybe I will. Who knows? I don't know what's going on at this point. So I went and I picked up a book. It was like I never had time to read. Now I got all this time to read. And I think I fell asleep reading the book that night. I did eventually fall asleep because my goal is not to have to take, I didn't want to take melatonin. I wanted all of this to be natural as this was going on. And during these 2 days, there's only been water and breathing. There's no food whatsoever. And I really didn't have any cravings, um, other than in those moments where I sat down somewhere that it would invoke something. And it was very interesting. So now I wake up, it's day 3. And on this day 3, I'm like, okay. I think it was day 3 was part of the weekend. I'm like, now what? Because I'm not working today. I don't have that to keep my mind. But when I tell you my mind was so clear, like it felt crisp. I don't know how to put it into words, but I can definitely by day 3 tell the difference between how my consciousness or mind feels here and it did on day 1 and day 2. I didn't think to kind of put them side by side on day 2, but there was something about day 3 was like, ooh, I'm onto something here. I'm onto something, which then now all of this exploring, all of this excitement really kept me focused on staying present in the now moment. And it got easier as the days went on. It got easier because as day 3 went on and I was playing with different spots in the house and seeing what comes in and how people are showing up differently, like they're true to their nature, but there's this whole different version of them showing up without me even asking for it. Because now I'm in a state of, because this new version of me isn't truly defined yet, and I'm letting go, I know consciously I'm not the old version of me because she doesn't water fast, and that there's so much that's unwritten. It's like everybody automatically leveled up to the best version of themselves. It was mind blowing. Even my partner, who I always say I got the Powerball of partners, best partner in the whole wide world with a cherry on top. Like I couldn't, I love the version that he was. This was like, and I just remember like day 3 was like jaw dropping because I wasn't focused on getting through it. I wasn't focused on, will I feel hungry or not? This was exploration of consciousness. I said this from the get go. I wasn't doing this for anything within the body, but the body stuff would come. And so I believe it was on day 3 that I decided in the afternoon, I didn't feel lightheaded. That was all gone. I was going to go run a mile outside down at the park. And I hadn't run outside yet because this was like, I don't know, March. I did this. It was so I'm like, I'm gonna go run outside and I'm gonna do a mile and I want to see how I feel. And so I got down into the park. I got my Nike tracker on and I ran the mile and I had so much energy that I ended up doing a 5K, 3.1 miles. I probably could have done more, but this was like blowing me away. But not only as I ran, because sometimes when I run that first mile, if like I could do the first mile at the end, it would be wonderful. But once I get past that first mile, I feel amazing. It felt like I was running on air. Like I could feel the ground. Everything still felt that to me, but it was different. Like there's just no words to describe that experience, the normal experience, the heavy density of it all, to feeling like I'm still feel the 3D. I still feel it under my feet, but it almost feels like I'm flying as I take these steps. And I start laughing as I'm running because I'm thinking, am I flying? And I don't realize it. Like it was like mind blowing. So day 3 was really about um just being more and more present in the now moment, but I didn't have to remind myself. And I also found that some things that I enjoy I had no interest in, like watching TV. I did enjoy listening to music. I did enjoy reading. I did more of that. But it's like these other filler things that would entertain the mind. It made me realize I'm a mind that needs to be entertained. I'm out of the mind that needs to constantly be fed, or else it gets bored and wants to throw a hissy fit. It was a really good realization. So I'm excited. And my day 3 technically ends at 12 noon the next day. And I thought to myself, okay, I set up the platform, I set up the framework, I set up the foundation for 3 days. Am I going to continue on? Am I going to continue on? Because if I am, I probably should set this up tonight going to bed at day 3. But once again, um, I don't remember the night before when I fell asleep. So I decided this night I was going to stay in the room and just sit there in the dark awake. I mean, I knew it was going to be everything is enjoyable, but I didn't know but I was going to try to be as consciously aware of the last time I look at a clock before I go to bed. Not that I'm trying to track it, but I'm trying to get the gist of it. And so yeah, I go in the room and I do my revision and I decided that I'm not going to put pressure on it has to be 7 days or 10 days or however many days. But each night, if I feel moved, I'll extend it another day. So like, okay. So not only am I going to get up in my day 3 and but I'm already extending it for another day for a day 4. And day 4 gets added on. And I wake up and I do like when I woke up, and this was day 4 all the way on to the end of this. It's a whole different level of awareness. It's the moment you open your eyes, it's instant clarity. There's no grogginess. But day 4 to day 5 was when there was no more monkey mind. There was no more echoes. There was no more echoes. I didn't have to shut the mind. Actually, I didn't have to shut the mind down. I didn't have to meditate. I didn't have to clear the mind because it was. I actually had to activate it if I wanted to explore something. I had to put the suggestion there in it instead of waiting for the noise to die down and then refocus and center myself. Like it was, I was automatically centered day 4 to day 5. And everything was crystal clear. The colors were more vibrant. The smells were more engaged, like they were stronger. Um, Textures felt different. And it started to remind me of like tripping. Like, and I know I hadn't taken any psychedelics whatsoever, but in a way, when you're at a peak in a trip where the clarity is there, but you're no longer feeling the googly effects of the psychedelic, that's that clarity. I felt like I felt like the beginning of a pure creator state is what I went on to call it. That I didn't have to get there, that this was always there, like how we say that it's already here and it's already done and you already have it. And it was like, wow. So I decided to go down to the park and I was going to run a 5K because I knew that I could do that. But I was open that if it could go longer, let's do it. Because you would think now, I am 3 days, no food, but I'm full of energy. And I think I slept 3 hours the night before. I finally fell asleep, but it wasn't actually 3 straight hours. It was like an hour and a half. Then I was up for a little bit. Then it was an hour and a half. And then I was up. And I no longer had to think. I could feel my body being gently guided, like, not like this is what you're going to do right now, but it was more like to do this. Wouldn't it be nice if you went for a run? Like all those techniques, wouldn't it be nice? What if? And it was a very gentle state of mind, but yet so powerful that I went to the park and I ran 5 miles. And I probably could have done more. But once again, it was like, what is happening here? Like, shouldn't I be like crawling on the ground? But I remember my foundations that I set up. And I honestly can say to you, there was not a lot of reflection going on because I realized the moment that I would start to reflect, I was pulling myself out of the deep now that I was in, and then echoes would start. But if I stayed in the now, and that day 4 was mind blowing because it was like a bombardment of things, like people reaching out to me and offering me to collaborate, to clients falling in my lap, like unbelievably. Um, People offering me things, talking to me. I felt like I was like in this heaven on earth state. That's what it felt like. Like the reality was anticipating my next move and I was aware of it. Realized I didn't need all that thought because it was delivering to me like to the point where it was a little bit overwhelming of what was being delivered to me so quickly. And as I could feel that overwhelming come in, I could also feel the neutralizers come in. Like I didn't even have to say to my mind, slow it down a little bit, because it's not about space and time, it's about awareness. Did I have to do this water fasting to get to this level of awareness? No, because I was anchoring things in. I'll get to that in tomorrow's video or in video 3. But what was really powerful was I could understand now why time and space is needed when you are in the, I was truly in that state at day 4 and day 5 because I kind of put them together, where being in the world but not of the world, that nobody else knew the state that I was in because they engaged with me like they normally would, but on a whole different level. People that were naturally heavier showed up a lot fit and healthy. Like, And I was starting to see on day 5, 4 or 5, that my thoughts, as I had them, it's like I would think about who I could encounter at the park, and could I change the dog that they were walking, or could I, make the dog look different? Like, that's I that if I had some ideas come in, but they weren't echoes, they were like suggestions at this state that you can only get to because you're here. And it was like about that point, day 5, where I stopped caring about my character and her story, but not in a negative way, not in a way where I'm forgetting who I am and I'm forgetting where I'm at or the people. But I can feel the disassociation with that old version of me. And there was no rush to create a new story for the new version of me, because that's such a lower level way of doing it. Like, I could feel myself going up the scale of consciousness. So when I went to sleep on day 5, and I'm still playing with the reality, I'm still seeing who's showing up, how if I do have a thought in my head that I would like to speak to so and so, they would like not hours later, like within minutes, and it was happening every time, not just with one person. It was like wow, wow. Like, I was my algorithm. Like, you know how when you talk about something in the room and next thing you know, it shows up in your Facebook feed. You're like, how'd that happen? Like, I realize that I have that within me, that the reality was always showing me that anything can do, I can do through my consciousness, because I'm doing it because I am the Facebook, I am the algorithm, I am the YouTube. Mine was blown. So I'm like, day 6. But before I went to bed that night, it was down to, I knew that maybe I was going to get an hour sleep and then I was going to be up. I could feel that coming, but it wasn't a big deal, because I was really beginning to embody all of this. This is all me. And I can see how not having the echoes and the stories repeating and repeating and repeating freed up the memory space in this computer of me, freed up in the video game. And it was so peaceful and it was so calm. And it was again like trying to put words for you. So I already knew that I was going to get more time in the day because I didn't need the sleep. I wasn't tired. I wasn't hungry. My body felt like it was so efficient, and it was morphing into healthier and healthier visual versions of me, which was like, wow. So day 6, I wake up, and just when I thought I couldn't get into a different state and it could get better, there's no words for days 6 and 7. My first time was 7 days. I literally felt like I could instantly manifest. And how things started to show up showed me how my mind thinks it's the most gentlest way for something to show up that would not upset the equilibrium. But because I'm now no longer existing deep in the identity, and obviously not full God state, but somewhere in a hybrid in between, there was no type of emotion or feeling lower than neutrality. Like, neutrality was it, and then all of the wonderful things above. So there was no fear, no anger, no frustration, shame, guilt, like all those lower things. And there was all these restful states in between. And these restful states felt like sometimes like a half hour, and it was 2 minutes. Like, I could see time was being distorted. And if I would begin to form a question in my head, the answers started coming before the question was finished. Like, how can I function like this state in the world with the time and space being as it's getting warped as it is, because there's no more relativeness. I was moving away from the world of relativity into the world of absoluteness. And the response, and it's very different than the echoes of the lower level. It was like, you're not meant to in the 3D reality. You're meant to be more like I was on day 4 or 5, not here in 6 and 7, in the sense of, this is a place where you can come, and when you're there, when you're in that state, it's like nothing matters. You see everything for what it is. It's a bunch of stories that you want to dive in and experience. So really, what came at that point in day 6 and 7, and I allowed myself to stay there in that state. There was no rush to get back to the other states, because I know they're going to be there, because I could feel the versions of me experiencing them. Like, I know there's infinite numbers, but let's just say I could feel 10 different Dedes, say 5 that were having a struggle reality and a conspire against you, and 5 that were having a conspire for you. And they were all auditioning for me, and all of them were beautiful. Now, I can probably say to you that the Dedes that were in the crappy ones would not be, the identity would not be saying that. But from where I was, I could see the beauty of it all. That nothing is happening to me, the consciousness, but it's happening within me, the consciousness. And that I could choose to go back into any one of them, because they all exist and are playing out for me to jump in at any time for a different experience. But I could then also see, this was really powerful, that if I took, say, a Dede in a reality where she would be struggling to pay her bills, and a Dede in a reality over here that has been a multimillionaire for the past 10 years, and I could see how this Dede would be, the struggling one wanted to be this one over here. And it was like known as to why that this multi-million dollar reality will not collapse into that one, that it's the conscious awareness. She can bring some of the stuff from the multimillionaire reality into hers. But if there's too much change, if we're trying to change a struggling reality into an abundant reality, it's not meant to be that. The struggling reality was meant to be the struggling reality. The abundant reality is meant to be the abundant reality. So if I to bring so much of a different reality into the one that you're in, it won't allow it. That's why it seems like you get a little bit of movement, and then you go right back and it's taken away, because that reality is meant to be what it is, and you're trying to change it instead of realizing you're the consciousness that's breathing the life into that version. But you can pull out, like I did through this water fasting, and come back in to the reality. And not only can you come back on the same day, same, but if you wanted to go back into this new abundant reality 10 years prior, that's where you'll go. Like, it takes manifestation to a whole new level. It's not just about changing the people and getting things to show up. It's about, you don't even have to be in the same lifetime, because I was shown in day 6 and 7 full-blown realities where I don't look like this, where this world doesn't look like this. And I see that's what we tap into when you see different movies. Those, like, it was like known to me now that every TV show actually has a reality where those people are there and they're actually living it out like you're living yours. Like, your life is a TV show in a different reality somewhere. Star Wars is an actual reality, but we can only receive it here as a movie. And it was like all of this beautifulness was coming in. And that's why I realized that it came down to not only what did I want for myself, but what did I want for all the people that I would be interacting with in my reality? Because if I go back into a negative, lower reality of what my character would call that, and I'm trying to overcome it, you don't overcome it in those realities. And if those realities have you in there and you're breathing life into them, they're going to offer for you to stay. They can't keep you there, but they'll offer for you to stay. Like that's what this mind-blowing thing was. So I'm going to kind of leave that there. I will say this, that after the 7th day, I decided to eat, and I was very slow into reintroducing food. And I decided to foods that my old character doesn't eat because I wanted to add more variety. I wanted to change my experience in the physical 3D world. And I also wanted a constant reminder, besides the water fasting, that I'm different, because I can easily say that old character doesn't eat this. So we'll go all into that in part 3. It was a slow process because technically I had the belief at that moment that the body had stopped digesting and I didn't want to overwhelm it. So I went with first with some juices, then with some real soft fruits. And then I slowly started, it was days before I brought protein back in, because I feel like I had cleaned everything out. I'm in a whole new reality. And the version of me that I left behind is gone. And what ended up happening when I started to acclimate in will be mind blowing, because things disappeared, people disappeared, TV shows disappeared, other shows appeared like they've always been. Like it was like I just lived a real life Mandela effect. But I saw them, and I call it, I was the last one to the party. That the reality that I entered in, everybody has always been there. I was the new version. I was the one that I had to make some decisions at that point not to keep comparing the two realities, because I didn't want to make a hybrid of the two. I wanted to see what this new reality was to explore, and how different things were for me. And then in part 3, I'll tell you how to this day I incorporate water fasting. And the question for today is, please comments, questions that you have, put them in the comment section, because there will be a part 4 where I will address all your questions. And with that in mind, this regular manifesting thing that we see here on YouTube, when I tell you that there's nothing wrong with it, but you're so much more. And I've gotten to some of these states on breath work, on psychedelics, but they always took a bigger toll on me. So for me, this water fasting experience was just so easy, and it didn't take a physical toll on the body that sometimes the substances, or a really extreme workout like hot yoga or running long distances can do. And it allowed me to really be conscious and present. And I know this video is probably a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but there's so much more that I can share here. And that's why I really would love to consider offering group program to be part of this, to whether you adopt it for half a day, 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. It has changed my life, mind-blowingly changed my life. And it's my go-to thing when I feel like I might be stuck or caught in some kind of mental loop, and I'll break down the days of what I assign them to, and how when I have done a longer, and I've done longer ones. So put in the comments how long you think my longest one is, that you will be blown away. And I so far of just making a choice and setting a foundation and allowing myself to be deep in the experience, not contemplating everything, is a really great way of how things unfold when you step back out of the story and you trust that what you've chosen, you will be guided to do. But like I said, when that monkey mind shut down and it was pure silence, it's not what you think it is. It's not what the mind is like. I'm going to be alone. I'm going to be scared. It's going to be boring. It was none of that. It was so mind blowing. And every time I get to that state, it never gets old. It never gets old. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here and being part of this and allowing me to share this with you. This changed everything for me. It didn't cause it. I was the cause, but it was a beautiful thing to allow myself to choose and be part directly of the unfolding and be opening to receive the beautifulness of it all. Until we meet again, part 3 is coming up. Until we meet again, happy manifesting and enjoy.